So, good evening and welcome back to Tara Institute Monday Night Teachings. My name is Anjali and I have been presenting this month's Monday Night Teachings, and we've been talking about impermanence. Any newcomers tonight? Hi, welcome. We'll be doing a recap on the previous sessions anyway, so I'm sure you'll catch up on. But if you've got any questions at any times, please feel free to ask. So, as always, we'll begin with a breath meditation, a single-pointed meditation, just to ground ourselves and get our mind in the right space to reflect on the teachings. So just reminding everyone that in this meditation we are single-pointedly focusing on our breath. So the object of our meditation is our breath, and we use two main tools during this meditation. The first one being mindfulness, which is memory or remembering, so being mindful of what it is that we are meant to be paying attention on. And so the object, of course, is breath. And the second tool is the tool of alertness, which is like a sentry or a watchman watching our mind. And every time our mind drifts away from the breath, which it will, not once, but many times. As soon as you become aware, as soon as your alertness tells you that you've drifted away, don't be frustrated, don't be angry, don't be annoyed with yourself, don't judge yourself, don't say I'm hopeless. Just gently, kindly bring yourself, your mind back to the breath. That is the training. So I'll talk you through the right posture and through the meditation, and we'll be setting a motivation for the session as well while we do the meditation. So just finding a comfortable posture. You can be sitting on the ground on a cushion, or you can be seated on a chair. If you are on a chair, just make sure you have both feet flat on the floor. If you're on a cushion, just cross your legs in whatever way feels natural. It's important to be comfortable. Keep your spine upright and straight, but relaxed. Rest your hands in your lap, the right resting on the left, and the tips of your thumbs gently touching. Keep your chin slightly tucked in. Your eyes can be shut, or you can leave them slightly open with your gaze directed to the floor in front of you. Do a quick scan of your body and release any areas of tension. Let your shoulders soften. Unclench your jaw. Relax your neck and the muscles of your face. And now bring your attention to your mind. Notice the thoughts that are floating around. Thoughts of what transpired during the day. Thoughts of the tasks that you have to attend to after leaving here. Plans for tomorrow. Just drop them, one at a time. Make a quiet determination that for this next little while you will be present here and now. So let us set a motivation for our session tonight. Everyone, like myself, is seeking to reduce suffering and lead a happy life. May this time together be a cause for me to develop wisdom that can reduce the suffering for myself and for all sentient beings. You can set any other motivation that you want to for yourself. And now bring your awareness to your breath. You can be aware of your breath at your nostrils, where the air goes in and comes out. Or you can be aware of your breath at your abdomen, the rise and fall of your abdomen with the breath. Choose one spot and stick with it. As you breathe in, silently note in-breath. As you breathe out, note out-breath. And just follow the in-breath and follow the out-breath. And if you can, note the gap between the in-breath and the out-breath. Thoughts will arise. Simply notice them and let them go. Don't follow them, don't talk to them. Just let them drift away. Gently bring your attention back to the room when you're ready. So this is a great practice to continue doing at home. I'm sure a lot of you are doing it. The advice is to keep the sessions short. It doesn't matter, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, just gradually increase the time, but spending some time like this is a great way to developing your concentration abilities. So coming back to the topic of our discussion for this month, so this is the last of the Monday night sessions on impermanence, and so over the past few weeks we've discussed and reflected on a lot of ideas, a lot of thoughts. And so I thought tonight, I thought we'd spend tonight the session just consolidating all our learnings, and then perhaps taking home some key messages. You know, how is this going to change my life tomorrow? So what can I do differently tomorrow? You know, just some practical learnings from our sessions this month, and hopefully we'll have some time at the end for some questions. So just a brief recap of what we've discussed thus far. So we started by talking about impermanence as being a foundational concept in Buddhism. And we understood that impermanence is the nature of all produced phenomena in this world, which includes us, you know, animate objects, inanimate objects, ourselves, other people, the environment, our experiences, our mind, our thoughts. All of this is in the nature of impermanence. We also understood impermanence is not merely reflecting death and decay and cessation and end, but more as transience and change. And we discussed many examples to come to the conclusion that change pervades everything. But although we do see it and we do experience it, we somehow project permanence onto everything that we experience or see or feel. And so there's a mismatch between how things exist and how we project them to be. And we also discussed that because we think things are permanent, we tend to exaggerate how they exist, and then we cling and we grasp. And we identified that change does not seem to be the cause of our suffering when change does happen. It's more the attitude of clinging and not letting go that is the major cause of our suffering. And then we also discussed the idea of dependent origination as the way that things seem to arise and originate. And so, as the word suggests, as the term suggests, so dependent on something else, and originating. So originating independence on other things. And we discussed that that there are three major dependencies for all origination. The first of these is dependence on causes and conditions. And we talked about examples like, the tree, the seed being the cause for the tree. We talked about a rainbow arising because of causes and conditions of the sunshine and vapor and rain and water coming together. We talked about a wave rising from an ocean in dependence on wind and gravity. So all these phenomena that we identify as entities in their own being are actually arising in dependence on many other factors. And the second kind of dependence we talked about was the dependence on parts. So things like, let's say this table looks like a solid independent table, but in fact it's a collection of parts. It's got the wood and the paint and the nails and the glue, and that's what makes it a whole table. But when we look at it, we don't see these individual parts, we see it as a whole. Or ourselves, for instance, we are a collection of parts. We are the body and we are the mind, and the body can further be broken down in arms, legs, face, blood, skin, tendon, muscle. And if we put all of these parts, if we spread it out here, no one would recognize it as a body or as a person. It's only when it all comes together. But when you look at somebody, this is not what you see. You don't see them as a collection of parts. You see them as a whole. But they are dependently originated. And the third kind of dependence we talked about was the most profound kind of dependence, which is the dependence on mental labeling and mental imputation, where we said that the mind projects on things. It's based on conceptuality. So let's say myself, you recognize me as Anjali because I've told you I'm Anjali, but I did not arise as, you recognize me as a Monday night teacher, but that's not how I arose, or that's not all of me. It's a label that you put on me depending on a concept. You're here at Tara, you're here for Monday night, I'm sitting here, I'm a teacher this Monday night. But that's not the entirety of who I am, and that's not who I am for everybody. So I'm arising to you as a Monday night teacher because of your mental projection, or I'm arising to you as a friend. I may arise to somebody as an enemy. So how we see things and people and objects depends on our conditioning, on our conceptuality. If you saw a mound of dirt here, we would see it as dirt. But when a fly sees a mound of dirt, a fly thinks food. So the conditioning and the conceptuality has an effect on how we perceive things and how we see things. So the nutshell of the theory of dependent origination is that things seem to appear to us as independent, permanent, and inherently existing, which means existing in and of themselves. They need nothing to come into existence, nothing can cause them to cease, and they look the same to everybody. Not the case. That's not how things exist. That's not how we exist. And so I wanted to read a good quote to you from the teachings. And the quote is, "When this is, that is. From the arising of this comes the arising of that. When this is not, that is not. When this ends, that ends." So essentially what it's conveying is that things are dependent on other things. Things are interdependent. Things are dependent on causes, which in turn are dependent on other causes, which in turn are dependent. You can take this equation to infinitesimally small levels. And everything affects everything else. And what that means for us in our daily lives really is that things that seem to us to be independent are not like that. They are actually a good term I've heard to describe this is that things are other-powered. They're not entirely within their own control or power. And so yes, so they are other-powered. And that idea, I think, is something to reflect upon and think upon, because when we understand that, our attitudes and the way we live our life and the way we perceive people and things and situations soften a little bit. Because how we project ourselves is causally dependent. How other things appear to us is causally dependent, and so to then be very firm and definite about likes and dislikes and good and bad and right and wrong becomes quite a difficult argument to sort of hang on to. So anyway, that's what we have discussed thus far. So the question then is, where to from here? How does this help us? Any questions so far, by the way?
Yeah.
Yes.
What was that word you said? Things are underpowered?
Other powered. Other.
Other-powered.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So how do where do we go from here? What do we make of all of this, and what do we do? So let's. I thought we'd take a step back and start with where this journey must have started for most of us, if not for all of us. So all of us are looking. I think it's fair to say that all of us are looking for happiness, and we don't want suffering. No one wants suffering. Everyone wants to be happy. And it's also fair to say that all the activities that we undertake in our life are in pursuit of happiness. We go from one country to another. We go from one relationship to another. We go from one job to another. We study. We work. We raise families. We buy homes. We go on holidays. We create gardens. We have hobbies. We have passions. All in an attempt to seek happiness. It's funny. I was reading the other day. Elizabeth Taylor, the actress, married 8 times. But that's not the funniest bit of the story. She actually married the same man twice. So although we seek happiness in all these pursuits, it somehow escapes us. So if you met somebody who had everything, the perfect partner, the perfect home, the perfect job, and if you ask them, are you happy all the time? What do you think they'd say? No, we have this discontent and this dissatisfaction, each of us. So then you have to ask the question, why is that the case? What is it that we get wrong? Are we looking in the wrong place for the happiness? What is happiness? And so let's examine that in the framework of our learnings from the previous few weeks. So for all of our experience, so all our experiences of suffering or happiness arise from two things. So there's an object or the thing that you perceive, and there is a subject or the observer or the perceiver. And it is the coming together of the object and the subject, or the observer and the observed, a phenomena, object, that leads to an experience. And so if you examine these things separately, so if you looked at the object, so we understand from our learnings that every object, whether it's an animate object, whether it's an inanimate object, whether it's a home, whether it's a car, whether it's a person, whether it's a relationship, they're all in the nature of change. So if your object is always in the nature of change or transience, well, you can't have lasting happiness. You can have fleeting pleasures or moments of happiness, but you can't find lasting happiness in an object that is transient in nature. And then if you looked at the subject, which in this case, let's say, is our mind, that again is not a constant. It is dependently originated. It is constantly changing. The mind has different views of the same. The person that you marry, the person that you could not live without when you first met them, now 10 years later you can't stand them, and you can't wait to have them out of your life. And how does this happen? The mind changes. The mind is again a dependently originated entity. You loved pizza as a kid, but you don't anymore. You hate it. A friend can become an enemy. A stranger can become a friend. Chocolates which you love, which bring a smile to your face at any time. I was at work today and I was in an unpleasant meeting where I felt completely blindsided, and this was before lunch, and then I went and had my lunch, and it tasted like mud in my mouth because I was annoyed and angry. So neither the object nor the subject, nothing is unchanging in its essence. It's all transient, in a state of flux, dependently originated, moving all the time. And so that is the nature of reality. That should not come as news to any of us, but it does. And so this is actually what Buddha described as the suffering of change. This was part of his first teaching, the Four Noble Truth teaching. But fortunately for us, Buddha did not stop at just describing suffering. He also then showed us how to get rid of suffering. But And of course, it's not as simplistic as I'm trying to project it to be, but it's definitely a part of what Buddha said, that there is the suffering of change. And so this suffering of change arises from our mistaken view. And we did talk about the mistaken view. Or the other word that's used in the teachings is the ignorant view. The view that misapprehends how reality exists. I don't know if any of you have ever had a bad dream. I'm sure you have. So, I once had a dream where I dreamt that there were intruders in the house. And it felt so real, and I was trying desperately to look for my mobile, to not make a noise, to try and call the police or call family, and all of this was happening in my dream, and I was consumed with fear. And it felt so real, and I actually woke up. When I woke up, my heart was popping out of my chest. I had physical symptoms that I felt when I actually woke up. So, and then when I woke up, I thought, oh, that was a dream. A sigh of relief. But so the teachings often use the analogy of a dream to describe the mistaken view and the suffering that we have from the mistaken view. And the teachings say that while you have the mistaken view, there will be nothing but suffering, or at least that you will find no lasting happiness. It's like being in the bad dream. And unless you wake up or look at things differently, you will continue to be in the dream. And the thing to note, the thing that I find fascinating is that while you're in the dream, it feels real. You don't think that you're in a dream. You think this is real. This is reality. It's only after you have woken up that you realize that that was a dream. So the point being that while we are living in this illusion of permanency, and while we have this ignorant view or mistaken view, we will continue to suffer, and ironically we think that this is how the world exists. So does that mean we are doomed? No, not at all. Who can help us? Guess who? Ourselves. So the teachings tell us that no lama, no monk, no religion, no philosophy, nobody can do the work that we have to do. Even the Buddha himself could not do the hard work for you. But what we do have is the teaching. So the teachings tell us that this is a problem, that the mistaken view arises from our minds. It is a problem of the mind. And so the solution has to come from the mind. It has to come from our mind. And the solution is to develop wisdom, and a wisdom mind. And what is the wisdom mind? If you ask me for a definition of the wisdom mind, a wisdom mind is a mind that apprehends reality as it exists. And an ignorant mind is one that has a mistaken view of how things exist. And it's definitely possible. So mind transformation is at the root of all Buddhist teachings. the mind is described to be clear and knowing, and the mind has infinite capacity to transform and change with effort. The beautiful thing again for me about Buddhist teachings is that there is clear and logical steps about how to go about it. And so the key to the mind is through meditation, essentially. And so the teachings describe to us how we go about transforming our minds. It could be about developing a wisdom mind, or it could be about developing love, or it could be about developing compassion. Essentially, the framework is the same. The teaching suggests that the first thing to do is study. So you can study texts, you can listen to teachings, you gain knowledge. That's obviously a starting point. And then the next step is to reflect on what you've heard or what you've read, and to test it against your own experience. And see if it's valid or not, if it holds true or not. And when you've developed some conviction, you then meditate on it. You think about it, you meditate on it, and what that does is it ingrains that the insight that you have got from your reflections into your mind stream. So the teachings would tell us that in this instance, that we think about impermanence, that we look for it in our interactions, in ourselves, in things that we come in contact with. Every time a thought arises, every time clinging arises, every time attachment arises, or every time aversion arises, maybe question yourself and say, what is my mind projecting at this time? Am I embellishing things? Am I exaggerating? Am I overestimating or underestimating? When I see the rose, am I also seeing the thorns? When I say this person is awful, am I maybe forgetting that there's something good about them as well? So look for the embellishments of your mind, catch your mind, and slowly try and correct your how your mind is seeing objects and your mind, and try and develop this wisdom of the reality of existence. And where would that leave us? Would that mean that we can't enjoy anything, or we can't have our pleasures? Or no, it actually doesn't mean that at all. What it does, what it should do, or what it might do, is that we still, Buddhism tells us that we can still have our pleasures, we can still have our happy moments, we can still enjoy our hobbies, we can still enjoy our relationships, but that we don't exaggerate the quality of these interactions. We don't exaggerate these things. We don't think this is the best, this is it, this dress is the one, this holiday is the one, this sunset is the perfect sunset, because that's not how reality exists. Don't cling, don't grasp, and let go. Learn to let go. And with letting go comes freedom. So really just always keep the understanding of transience in mind. There's a story where Buddha was sitting with a group of monks. So they'd done their rounds so Buddha and his close disciples would move from place to place, and they would beg for alms, and that's how he'd only eat one meal a day. And so they'd done their food collection round, and they'd had lunch, and now they were sitting at a spot, and this man came running frantically from nowhere, and he said, "Oh, you've been sitting here for some time. Have you been sitting here for some time? Have you seen my cows?" And Buddha said, "No, I don't believe we have seen any cows." And the man goes, "I have 4 cows, and they have wandered off, and I can't find them anywhere. And if I can't find my cows, I am doomed. I will not be able to till my farm. I will lose everything I have. My wife will leave me. My kids will leave me. I will die. I might as well kill myself." And Buddha said, no cows have passed this way. Maybe you should go look the other way." And the man moved on. And then Buddha looked to his to the monks, and he said, "You are lucky. You don't have any cows." And so I think a good exercise for us is to recognize, to go home and maybe write down the names of our cows, and then try and think about, are we exaggerating things here? Will we have this cow forever? And maybe it's time to let go of this cow. Still have happy times with this cow, but maybe, and I don't mean cow as in a person. So, So letting go is one of the biggest lessons that impermanence teaches us. The other, any questions thus far, or any comments? So really, I guess the take-home message from that spiel really was that there are no shortcuts. If you're looking for magic, or if you're looking for a wand, or if you're looking for some quick fixes, there are none. It is really trying to work on our minds and trying to transform our mistaken or ignorant view, which is the view that apprehends existence as being permanent, as being independent, as having control and power over themselves. That's the mistaken view. And the mind of wisdom, the wise view, is the view that apprehends reality as it is. And with the wisdom mind, then learning to deal with life in a more sort of moderate, measured, tempered way, where we enjoy things, but we also let go. And I think the journey, for the most part, is a very rewarding journey, really. The other thing that's probably linked to this and to impermanence is, so the traditional teaching on impermanence in Buddhism also talks about our finite life. So I wasn't sure whether I should be using the D word and talking about death, but I think it's a good idea to at least mention it. So Buddhism does tell us that the important lesson from impermanence is the lesson that we all have a finite number of years, that we all die. And it's not meant to create fear or anxiety. It's actually meant to be inspiring and to encourage us to meaningfully use the time that we have. From a Buddhist perspective, there is continuity of mind. So when we die, we don't take anything with us except the stream of consciousness, and the mind carries forward. And so the most beneficial use of this life can be the most benefit that you can gain from this life is to work on that mental continuum and develop wisdom. But even if we didn't believe in the continuity of mind and in rebirths, we don't have to. Even just developing wisdom is for this life would be is a meaningful way to spend this life. There's a story again from Buddha's life about a woman called Gotami. So Gotami was a lady who had just one child, and the child died young, and she just could not accept that her child had passed away. So the story goes that she carried the child and she went to sages and seers and holy people, and she tried to ask for something. She kept saying, "Give me something that'll bring this boy back to life." And everyone said, "No, you can't bring anyone back to life." And then someone took pity on her, and someone said, "Why don't you go see Buddha? There's this man, Siddhartha, Buddha, and Gautama, and he has powers, and maybe he can bring your child back to life." And so Gautami found Buddha, and she said, "Can you bring my child back to life?" And he said, "Yes, sure, I can, and I'm going to help you. But you have to do something for me. You have to go and get me some mustard seeds from a house where no one has experienced death." And so Gautami thought, "Oh, mustard seeds, every household has mustard seeds. This should not be hard." And so she went looking for mustard seeds from a house where they had not lost a loved one ever. And of course she couldn't find a household. And then the story goes on, but Gautami did realize the message that Buddha was trying to give her, and she went on to become his most ardent disciple. So death is inevitable, death is a part of our life. And what the teachings tell us, what His Holiness tells us, is that the most meaningful way that we have to explore it for ourselves. I mean, we spend our lives in a lot of mundane, meaningful activities, which at the end of the day don't seem to give us lasting happiness. So we have to decide for ourselves whether we generally go from bliss to bliss to bliss to bliss. We go from seeking, we haven't finished this holiday and we're already planning our next holiday, and the measure of the success of our lives is how busy our calendars are. I actually met somebody who showed me his calendar and said, "Oh, look, I have no time for the next so many weeks." And so it was they were trying to tell me how popular they are and how busy they are and how important they are and how meaningful their lives are. And so from a Buddhist perspective, the most meaningful activity that we can use these years in is in the pursuit of wisdom and developing a more wise mind, which then leads to it goes hand in hand with having more understanding, having more compassion, and having more love. The Dalai Lama often reminds us that, of the limited lifespan that we have, half the life we spend sleeping. The remaining half, a good part of our life we are kids, and a good part of our life we are older folk. And we've not to undermine older folk. I'm now in the older folk category. But we tend to slow down and we get illnesses, and the body doesn't, not necessarily, help us. And so there's very few years where we can really pursue meaningful activities. And so that again, so remembrance of death, remembering our impermanence is a key lesson or teaching that Buddhism would suggest we keep in mind. So I might lead us through another short analytic meditation. So for the new folk here, an analytic meditation is a meditation that where we dwell on an idea just to explore it more. So you're actively thinking, but you're still trying to concentrate on what's being, on what we're trying to meditate on. So this really is an analytic meditation reminding us of death and impermanence. So just settle down and bring your mind inward. So take a moment to reflect. This life, my life, is limited. It will end. No matter how tightly I cling to it, it cannot last forever. There will come a day when I see my last sunrise, my last moon. Everyone I know will die. And so will I. Each breath brings me closer. This reflection is not to create fear, but clarity. To remind us that the time to practice, to love, to awaken is now. At the time of death, all possessions, titles, even the body, must be left behind. The only thing that continues is the state of mind we have cultivated. So ask yourself quietly, what is truly worthwhile? How do I want to use this precious life? May we each realize impermanence deeply. May we live meaningfully, without distraction. May our actions create peace and benefit for all. And you can bring your attention back to the room. So we're running close to the end time. So I hope people didn't find that confronting or disturbing or No, that's good. So really, I mean, I guess in conclusion, I think it would, you know, in your own time, read more about it, think more about it, dwell on it. There's lots of resources if you wanted to. You know, if anyone wants some guidance to it, you know, to what might be good resources, I'm here. I can certainly help, or so can any of the students at Tara. Yeah, no, I wish all of us all the best, and I hope that we learn to incorporate these teachings and ideas into our minds, and you know, lead happier, freer, more worthwhile lives. So, any questions or comments or yes?
When you talk about death and moving on, death, you say you have to let go of things, but that's not forgetting though, is it?
Sorry, let go of.
Well, if a relation dies,
Yes.
you say it's birth. So to get rid of the suffering, you have to let go of those things. But that's not forgetting the person though, is it?
No, not at all. No, and death, whether it's, you know, if death is so, it's never without suffering. I mean, there's always sadness and suffering. But I guess from a Buddhist point of view, and we could never forget the person. But from a Buddhist point of view, death is not really the end. There is a continuum. But yes, the person we identified that mind with in this life has ended, and that always comes with sadness and you know, suffering. But according to the teachings, in the ultimate sense, that mind still continues, but you know, we see that person as independent, inherent, permanent. That's not how reality exists. But yes, so letting go doesn't mean forgetting the person. No, not at all. Any other questions or comments? So next month, Dennis Marsh will be leading the Monday nights, and Dennis will probably be covering Lamrim topics. So Dennis is a very, very old student at Tara Institute, and I'm sure he will have lots of wonderful things to share. So please continue coming to Tara, and if I'll be hanging around for a bit if anyone has any questions. But let's just dedicate today's session before we end. So just dedicating that any learnings or any insights that we have gained as a result of our time together tonight, we dedicate to the motivation that we had set at the start. May we be a cause of happiness for all sentient beings. May we bring bliss and benefit to ourselves and everyone else. So thank you very much, everybody. There is tea, coffee, cake in the tea room. And good night. Thank you.